Thank you so much for inviting me to share this exciting study. I'm Jennifer Wu. I'm the national PI of the study. I'm one of the GI radiation oncologists at Mass General Brigham Cancer Institute, and I'm representing all of my co-study leads, talking about this exciting study that just opened October of 2025. It's NRG-GI012. A randomized phase 3 trial of IO or immunotherapy-based systemic therapy plus or minus liver SBRT in hepatocellular cancer with macrovascular invasion, otherwise known as HELIO-RT. NRG-GI012 is a follow-up study to Laura Dawson's RTOG1112. And just a reminder for all of you, that was a study of a localized but locally advanced population of HCC plus or minus a small limited extent of extrahepatic disease, and it randomized patients to receive sorafenib alone or sorafenib plus radiation, and it actually demonstrated an improvement in overall survival with the addition of radiation to sorafenib alone in that high-risk localized population. You know, obviously, whenever there's an overall survival benefit, there's a lot of excitement, and I think really wanting to build upon the momentum of that, we developed this study. In the backdrop of all of that, systemic therapies have improved a lot over the last 5-10 years, with immunotherapy really playing a major role. There's now 3 FDA IO-based regimens that are approved. There's atezolizumab, bevacizumab, durva, tremi, and ipi-nivo. And so this study really tries to combine immunotherapy plus or minus radiation and ask the question, does radiation still show an overall survival benefit? And it's also asking in a very particular population, higher risk population, patients with more extensive metastatic disease, but all with macrovascular tumor vein thrombosis, showing and asking the question, is there a benefit for liver-directed therapy? So the primary endpoint of the study is overall survival. The secondary endpoints, there's a bevy of them, but some of them include the progression-free survival, objective response rate, tumor recanalization, or tumor vascular recanalization, liver decompensation, per Charles Pugh and Albee, and then health-related quality of life, secondary endpoints. So as I mentioned, there's 3 FDA-approved immunotherapy regimens, and any of them would be allowed. If there were any additional ones, we would amend the protocol to allow all FDA-approved IO regimens. And choice is physician discretion of what they think is best for the patient. And then SBRT is dosed, lifted right off of RTOG1112, because that obviously has already set a national standard and was shown to show an overall survival benefit. It is a 5-fraction SBRT, and it's really dosed based off of liver metrics. You know, I think we start at 50 gray and you have to dose de-escalate if you're not meeting metrics, and it's very prescriptive of what you're ultimately prescribing to in the study. So the ideal patient would be someone with a Child's Q A up to B7 underlying cirrhosis. Macrovascular invasion is mandated, but it can be any degree of macrovascular invasion. We're actually stratifying for it. So even subsegmental portal vein thrombosis would, tumor vein thrombosis would be eligible, as well as more extensive into main portal vein or IVC. Even in those, obviously, patients have very poor prognosis. And so the combination of immunotherapy plus RT may be particularly attractive in that population to consider. Considerations that we need to be careful about is proximity to luminal structures, because particularly among patients who are getting potentially bevacizumab, concern for potential additive toxicity that has been previously seen in other sites, not necessarily in the HCC population, but extrapolating. And so we do have very specific and tighter dose constraints along the luminal structures if patients are getting bevacizumab. I'd say the most important barrier is referring physicians and our own interest and our own motivation to accrue to these studies. I'd say a lot of the HCC trials or GI trials in general sometimes have struggled to accrue, but it is so important given that there was an overall survival benefit and seen in NRG-GI012 to really cement our role as radiation oncologists and the benefit of radiation for HCC population. You can see, and I'm sure many of you can encounter in your own clinical practice and tumor boards, the pressure from interventional radiology coming in with intra-arterial therapies, TACE, Y90. And really, I think what we have to stand on is one, our studies have shown an overall survival benefit, which not all modalities have. But that radiation, we are really research-driven, have data to support and evidence-based, and we work very collaboratively. And I do think it's very important to recognize this is a newer population of patients that previously all liver-directed therapies have not played much of a role. So I think it behooves the entire community of liver-directed therapies interventionalists to support, because if we can show a benefit for even more extensive disease with tumor vein thrombosis, it could open the doors for many liver-directed therapies in the future. Particularly among this population of patients with portal vein thrombosis, such a poor prognostic factor among this population that it is a critical question. And with hepatocellular cancer, it's a dual-edged sword of cirrhosis and potential for liver decompensation, and the disease itself. And so trying to sort of proactively address tumor-related liver failure can be critical to sort of in conjunction with immunotherapy to address the systemic therapy. So I think it's a great question. And then secondarily, I think that the more if we can just keep building on the momentum of RTOG-1112, we're starting to gain status and move ourselves into the BCLC staging system, but there's so much interest in other liver-directed therapies. I think as a field, we have to sort of just all, congregate and support these important studies.